has begun. So you factor in like that. Then you do push-ups. You got to do the tailor-made record. Then you got Euphoria. And now you got the new timestamp record that Kendrick did. What is it, 616 in LA?
Yeah. And
what's up, everybody? So in October last year, Drake released his 8th album titled For All the Dogs, which featured a collaboration with J. Cole called First Person Shooter. In one verse, Cole suggested that he, Drake, and Kendrick Lamar were the big three of the current era of hip-hop. To quote his exact lyrics, he rapped, "Love when they argue who the hardest MC. Is it K-Dot, is it Aubrey, or me? With the big three like we started a league." The song debuted at the top of the US singles chart, becoming Drake's 13th and Cole's first #1 song. The achievement meant Drake tied with Michael Jackson for the most #1 singles by a male solo artist. Then a week later, Taylor Swift's Cruel Summer replaced them at #1, and the moment seemed to have passed. But privately, Kendrick Lamar had taken note and wasn't happy. So earlier this month, producer Metro Booming and rapper Future released a collab album called We Don't Trust You, and hidden in the track listing was an uncredited verse by Kendrick Lamar, and it was explosive. With a dope delivery, he took aim at Cole's verse, claiming there was no big three, it's just big me.
this was going, and actually you shocked me because you said that at first you were having Drake with the lead. I want to just hear your thoughts on everything going on, and especially this battle. What do you think is going on right now?
I think that if people can be objective, like you can't be a Kendrick Lamar stan, you can't be a Drake stan. If you're just an objective hip hop fan who enjoys, really good lyrical raps and really good music, you have to say you're very impressed at what both Drake and Kendrick Lamar have done thus far. Like you just have to. Like whether you got, you might have them even on the scorecard, you might have Drake up, you might have Kendrick up, but even if you got Drake up, it's not by much. Even if you got Kendrick up, it's not by much. Because you got to factor in like that, right? Like you got to factor in like that as where this current iteration of the actual battle has begun. So you factor in like that, then you do push-ups. You got to do the tailor-made record. Then you got Euphoria. And now you got the new timestamp record that Kendrick did. What is it, 616 in LA?
Yeah, and I'm hearing so many different references of why it's 616. Apparently that's Canadian Father's Day. Apparently, and chat, I don't know if you guys... It is. It's 16. And not only that, June 16th, 2016 was the first episode that aired of Euphoria. I don't know if Kendrick is that meticulous, but Canadian Father's Day is June 16th. June 16, 2016 was the first episode that aired of Euphoria, the show about the kids are going crazy. It's also I think the day of the acquittal, which by the way there's a glove on the cover art. This is kind of, hey, I do want to ask you one thing.
It's a glove on the cover art, but don't it got the Maybach music logo, or is that just the Maybach logo period? That's a Maybach logo, right?
Yeah, it's the Maybach logo, but some people feel like apparently this is also a historic day because of OJ was allegedly acquitted on June 16th, like I don't remember what year. Which is so many references, but you were mentioned in Back to Back, and I think up until that point, Drake and Meek was probably, I've always said, just even me being ancillary on the internet covering that, it was like one of the biggest moments in hip hop. You being there for that and being here for this, how do you think both compare? Like I feel like this is like surreal right now.
Well, I think, there's one definitive winner in all of this right now, and I think it's you, and I hope you're really paying attention to the moment. Like I told you earlier, like this is your moment to kind of like, rebrand yourself in a sense, because like you got the reputation for being the shock jock who'll say anything, and people will say Akademiks isn't good for hip hop, he's not good for the culture. They say Akademiks doesn't do anything but, go in on women. By the way, me and you've had these conversations for years. Like I told you years ago to fall back from doing that, especially, the going in on women piece. But I think this is a really good moment for you right now, because the things that I always pay attention to you about, and have always paid attention to you about, is you being like the hip hop cultural critic. And I think right now, man, if you just keep doing that, keep it about music and just objective criticism of what's going on in regards to Kendrick and regards to Drake, I think it's going to really shift how people perceive you. Because even with me, I think most of your audience, they come to you for those music takes. When you're doing the music breakdowns and, you taking us into the world of what's going on musically and in the culture, I think that's what people come to you for. Even if you go back to those, those War and Chiracs, that's essentially what that was. That's what that was as well. If people were really paying attention to it and can get past the sensationalization of it all. But I think it's a good place for you.
Hey, I'm asking you this question from someone who I've asked questions to along my career for, I think you've been there, right? Like, for example, so Kendrick name drops and kind of like name checks me on the record, but he says, yo, I think Ak is compromised. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, like that's one of the, I do have like a little built-in bias because I do like the guy's music a lot, right?
You're a Drake fan. It's okay. You're a Drake fan. It's okay.
But I want to be fair though. Like I want to be like. I'm now after even this record, I'm like, how could I go out of my way to try to make sure I'm not trying to like, if Drake loses this like battle or altercation, I don't want to be the guy who's like the one delusional nigga who's like, yo, you know what I mean? Like,
yo, Ak, what's the one thing I've always told you since you know me? A piece of advice Wendy Williams gave me that I always give you. It always say.
It's been a lot.
You're gonna be of the industry.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be of the industry, of the people. That's a fact, 100%.
And that's what, and you gotta always remember that, because at the end of the day, we still human. So you're gonna have your picks, right? You're gonna have people that you actually rock with. If you ride around listening to Drake's music and you a super Drake fan, that's your guy. I'm a Kendrick guy. I've always said I feel like Kendrick is the leader of this new generation. I like what Kendrick stands for. When it comes to albums like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, I'm on record saying I think in the future people are going to look at that album and say that album and Jay-Z's 444 are two of the most important hip-hop albums of all time, if not the most important. But that's just where I'm at in my life. You know what I mean? I like the things that he's talking about. I like that he's talking about mental health on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I like that he's talking about, doing right by his wife. I like the fact he's talking about mindfulness and issues with his pops. Like, that's where I'm at in my life. So I appreciate that album a little bit different. But even with that, I still got to be objective. So when Push Up came out, I'm just listening for the bars. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. That was a great record. That was a phenomenal response from Aubrey Graham. The Kendrick Lamar's like that. And I think Euphoria is a phenomenal response to, Push-Ups and to Taylor Made. I really do, just because I like the way Kendrick approached it. Because Kendrick is coming from a more healed perspective. And he's looking at Drake when he says to Drake, like, yo, I see the boy, but where's the man at? Like, it's a psychological evaluation of where he thinks Drake is at in life. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's not true, but I thought it was a good approach.
Listen, so I had called Cherry on earlier. And by the way, I agree with you. I had called Cherry on earlier, and we both were trying to like play this out. And of course, I told him, I said, listen, this could go on for the next year. Like, I'm not anticipating when this is done, because I do think this is a special time. However, when it came to the Meek and Drake beef, right, even to a certain extent, even with Nas and Jay-Z, like, I think people knew when they could feel like there was a definitive winner. It's possible. Because, like, I'm trying to score this like boxing. If you like, and if you watch boxing, it's like a close, decently close round, 10-9, right? I don't know if this will result in somebody getting knocked out.
I don't think so either. And I really feel like, like, first of all, you got to salute Drake. Drake has risen to every challenge that's been presented to him. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Meek tried to check his pen. He came right at Meek, was charged up and back to back. Pusha came at him. He came with Duppy. Now, I felt like Duppy was more directed towards Kanye, but he still came. But then when freaking Pusha dropped Story of Adidon, or whatever. What was it called? Story. What was that record called?
Story of Adidon. Yeah.
Story of Adidon. Like that was a nuclear weapon. It really was. When you think about that record, like he stepped on Drake's Adidas rollout. So a multi-million-dollar Adidas deal didn't happen because of that record. Then he stepped on, Drake presenting his son the way he wanted to the world. So that was a nuclear bomb. And then Drake bowed out for whatever reason. He decided not to engage with that one. And I think he learned a lot from that battle that he's bringing into the Kendrick battle currently. And I like the fact that he's not backing down from the challenge, but you still got to remember that's Kendrick Lamar. See, I think that this generation don't respect Kendrick Lamar like they should, because Kendrick doesn't. He's about quality over quantity. Like, he takes his time in between albums. He's not putting out music every week. He's not dropping, a feature with an artist, every other month. Like, and being that he moves like an old school rap artist, I don't think people appreciate Kendrick the way that they should. And I think right now what Kendrick is reminding people is like, yo, I'm that guy lyrically. And I've been that guy lyrically. And I really don't have no peers. I really truly don't have no peers. And I think he's showing he's really separating himself from that class. Because the last class was the big three, even though I call it a Fantastic Four, right? I say it's, Drake, Kendrick, Cole, and I put Future up there too. I call it a Fantastic Four.
I thought you were going to say Big Sean.